Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. A few weeks ago, I did a poll asking you if you wanted to see how I edited my videos, and a ton of you said yes, so here we are. I also wanted to thank you guys so much for 30,000 subscribers, and hope you can learn a little bit from this video. Disclaimer, I haven't been editing for a super long time, and I still do a lot of things wrong, and I'm just learning. But the best advice I can give is honestly just keep practicing, as cliche as it sounds. I'm going to go over the entire process of making my videos, so let's just jump right into it. This might end up being kind of a long video, so I'm going to put timestamps in the description so you can just jump to specific parts of the video if you'd like. Now, before I even begin editing, I have to collect clips. This can take a few hours, depending on if I know exactly which clips I want for the video, or if I just have a rough idea. Something I would recommend is keeping a list or a note in your notes app with a bunch of funny videos and labeled timestamps, so it's easier to find things when you need them. I was searching for clips for my latest birthday video, so I just go to the NCT Daily channel, the NCT and NCT Dream channels, and search around until I find something interesting. I also sift through some VLives, but those are just a bit harder to pick out good clips from, solely because of the platform's formatting. Regardless, once I find a clip, I just screen record what I want and I'm done. I usually get a few too many clips because it's better to have too much than too little. One of the most common questions I get asked is what editing platform do I use? I use a premium version of KineMaster, but there's also a great free version that I used to use for the first few months of making my videos. It's very good for beginners first learning how to edit, but I would recommend downloading a few free apps and trying them out for yourself, because everyone has different taste. There are lots of other more expensive options to choose from if you have the money or if you're becoming more experienced. I personally am planning to switch to try out another platform once my membership to KineMaster expires. I edit on my iPad, but KineMaster is also available on laptops or PCs. Opening up KineMaster, you can see that my first fatal flaw is that I never bother organizing my projects. Some of them, none of them have titles. The thumbnails are interesting, and yeah, just don't be like me in that regard. Starting off, I choose the correct aspect ratio and get straight to work on the intro. Normally, the intro is what inspires me to make the rest of the video. It's really important to have a good intro, or else people will just click away after a minute. I added my watermark first, just so I don't accidentally put text or subtitles where it would be, and then you can see here I'm adding a bunch of photos. I normally switch the intros around a lot, so in the end I went with videos. I'm using the layers tool here to add the videos in, but when adding in clips, the more appropriate tool is media, which makes it much easier to edit with, as I'll demonstrate later. I was kind of just being lazy, but if I were to make my entire video like this, it would not only take way too much time, but it would also be very laggy. I also add in background music, which I tried to fit to the mood of the video. I normally use Nintendo-style music and elevator-style music, just to have a nice welcoming feel. Here are two of the playlists that I've used before for the background music. They are lifesavers. Once the intro is done, I pick a transition clip. This is normally just a clip that I think is very funny, but it's not long enough to warrant an entire section about it. When it comes to the bulk of the video, I have three main ways that I edit: birthday videos, traditional videos, and tier ranking videos. My birthday videos are normally less heavily edited than my traditional videos, mostly for time purposes and for the sake of focusing on the member whose birthday it is. This is a birthday video, but I'll show you all the things I do to edit and all of the main tools I use anyway. So with this first clip as an example, one thing that takes a long time is cutting down the clips themselves. Normally, I screen record anywhere from 3 to 6 minutes of content per clip, most of which is always really funny, but I have to edit it down to ideally less than 2 minutes. It's important to make sure that everything flows nicely so things don't get choppy and disjointed when you're cutting them down. You can't assume that every person watching your video has seen all of the original clips, so make sure they all make linear sense, and add clarification if you need to. For example, at the beginning of this clip, I added the clarification that it was the final round of their game. But before adding in any commentary or other edits, I do the subtitling. In some of my earlier videos, my subs were kind of inconsistent, but it's important for them to be readable, big, but not too imposing. I ran out of storage and couldn't get the screen recorded sadly, but in order to keep my subtitles in the same place and for them to not all overlap, all I do is insert one text block, I guess I'm calling it a text block, spread it out over the entire part I'm subtitling, and then write the first line. Whenever it's time for the second line, I simply click on the text, select split, and then write the next segment of text in the new block. This makes things super consistent and nice to read. I keep the text as true to what the subtitles from the NCT channel say, but the only time I ever change them is if there's some sort of grammatical issue, such as using two different tenses in the same sentence. Those are small things that I don't really care about when reading the subtitles, but I know that a lot of people who watch my videos don't speak English as their first language, so I want to make everything as clear as possible. Moving on, once I'm done with my subtitles, I'll add more text and edits. I try not to add too much text, especially if the members are talking really quickly, because otherwise it'll just be too much text to read. Something that is really important is the visibility and color of your texts. In some cases, not all, if your text is neon green in a fancy font and on top of a background that's already also colorful, it's just not going to be appealing from a visual standpoint and from a clarity standpoint. So I stick to a classic font, just white, unless the background is white, in which case I'll do black, and most of the time I shadow behind the text so it's easier to read. I'll also sometimes add animation to text. There are 3 kinds: in, overall, and out animation, which are all pretty self-explanatory. The most common one I use is the float animation, which makes the text shake a little bit. I like the effect it has. Another thing I can do for editing is zooming and panning. You can click on clips and click pan and zoom in KineMaster, which is one of my favorite types of editing to do. It's important not to just randomly zoom in and out because that's distracting, but it's good when you want to add a bit more variety to otherwise more static camera shots, or if you want to focus on someone's facial expression. I also use the sticker feature, which has a lot of cute effects that you can use. For this, I just used some confetti, and then I had to go on SoundHound, which is another app, to look up the name of the background song I was thinking of, which took way too long. And yeah, I'd say more generally, the most important things to keep an eye out for are over-editing to the point where it's hard to keep up and the clips aren't clear, and timing. Don't drag out clips for longer than they should go on for just for the sake of extending the length of the video, and don't be afraid of chopping things down a little. If you're getting a little bored, watchers will probably be getting bored too. Now, I just repeat the same process for every clip. I usually have anywhere between 8 to 12 different clips that I put into one video. But if you're feeling demotivated or daunted by the thought of making an entire 8, 9, 10-minute video, there's another method that I like to use. As you can see in the first clip, I put it into the video, chopped it down, then immediately started doing subtitles and editing it. But something else I often do is lay out the video first. I take every clip I want to put into the video and add it in the order I'd like. Then I chop down the clips down to roughly how long I want them to be. This not only shows you exactly how much video you have to edit while you're editing, which can be good for pushing through and completing the video, but it also immediately tells you if you need to gather more videos to use or if you've gathered too many and you can take out some of the ones that weren't quite your favorite. One note of caution though is to make sure that you leave yourself some wiggle room. Normally when I use this method to edit my videos, it'll start off with like maybe 8 to 11 minutes of footage, but when I go through and begin editing, I end up trimming a lot of it. For the outro, I just like taking the background music I had in the beginning and playing 15 to 20 seconds of it so the cards show up. Then I watch the whole video over again, trying my best to catch any mistakes, which I obviously don't catch all the time, and then I'm done. I save my videos in 1080p and 48 FPS, even though if I'm correct, I believe YouTube can support up to 60 FPS. The process of making the actual video itself can take anywhere from 4 to 10 hours, depending on the type of video, the length of the video, and my general motivation. I upload my videos to YouTube 1 or 2 hours before I actually post them, just to give time for them to fully upload. And while it's uploading, I work on my thumbnails. I love making thumbnails, it is super fun. What I do to start is take screenshots of the clips that I used in the video and crop them just to make things a little easier later on. Then I use PixArt. This is the size you should make thumbnails. In PixArt, you can crop an image so it's exactly the amount of pixels you need, which is great. But for me, I just go into my folder of pre-existing thumbnails, pick one out, and then use that as a base. I look on my account to see the background colors I've used for my thumbnails recently and try to pick one that I haven't used in a while. For this video, I chose orange. So I cover the whole thing with orange and use the square feature to make a nice orange border. Then I begin taking my images and cutting them out. Thumbnails are also super important, so I really take a lot of time and care to make sure I cut things out properly, because we don't want things to look messy. Even if you have an amazing video, if you have a thumbnail that isn't eye-catching, nobody's going to watch it in the first place. So I cut out the image, and normally I'm not too worried about being exact just yet, because I can just use the eraser tool afterwards and make any smaller edits. The eraser tool also has a hardness setting, which is good because I like making my images have slightly softer edges instead of harder ones. I normally set the hardness to about 80 to 85%. Then I cut out a few more pictures and begin to format them. I usually have about 5 or 6 images, sometimes more, but I don't want things to get too crowded. I rearrange the images nicely, making sure I cover up anything that looks slightly wonky. I do that, then put in the text. Make sure it's an easy readable font and that it's big, because thumbnails are super tiny most of the time. I add a border to my text, the same color as the border on the entire thumbnail, and then a shadow in a slightly darker color to make it pop. Then I re-add the border along the outside, and I do any final little cleanups of things I find using the color of the background. This process of making the thumbnail takes around 20 to 40 minutes. Finally, the thumbnail is done and the video is finished uploading. I add my title, I try not to make it too long, and I normally search up the title on YouTube to make sure no other big videos have it. I add in the end card, and if I have another video that's related to the one I'm editing, I'll add in a card for that too. And then, after many, many hours, it is fully complete. So that's my entire process. I tried to go into detail about how I edit and what I do, but honestly the best advice is practice. Literally just practice. Looking back at my first videos, I die a little bit inside, but you'll get better the more videos you make. You'll learn how to edit efficiently, learn more tricks, and figure out what works for you, because there's no one-size-fits-all checklist for a good video. Just do your best and don't be hard on yourself. If you think your video is fun, other people surely will too. And you don't need to copy anyone else's style, you don't need to try and imitate other people, because people are going to like your videos for your own unique and fun editing style. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any more questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I will try and answer as many as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye!